Thank you very kindly. Okay. Welcome to the Lighthouse. Tonight's Lighthouse is sponsored by Guy Mordechai for the first name of Dina Bat Zohara and Tina Bat Osnat. Anonymous, by Anonymous for the first name of Yitzchak ben Leah Malka. By Anonymous, I'm assuming this is a different Anonymous than the previous Anonymous, but I'm not sure because they're both Anonymous, in honor of the happiness, health, and wealth of Daniel Shalom ben Sarah, and for the Refuah Shlema of Menachem Mendel ben Sarah Batya and Deborah Fega Bat Razel. And the co-sponsors tonight are Tzvi Menachem ben Chaim Yaakov, to thank Hashem for always keeping me safe and healthy, and for helping me avoid what could have been a tragic accident last night. May Hashem always protect me, my wife and kids, as well as all my family members and all my fellow Jewish brothers and sisters. That is pretty awesome. Amen. Thank you very, 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 very much for being a part. So tonight's topic is Tom Brady and the Torah. But before we get started, I just wanted to reach out to our virtual audience and say thank you. I appreciate it. I've been getting after in previous episodes. I requested if you can send in not only feedback, which you guys have been great with for a very long time, but also some ideas of things that you want to hear about, some topics that you're interested in, some things that bother you about Judaism. That's what we want to talk about. We want to talk about the things that bother you about Judaism. If it bothers you, we want to address it. And I've been getting many people really stepping up and talking to me, and they've been very honest about the things that bother them in their heart, and that's awesome, and I thank you. That's number one. Number two, it's possible that tonight we may take some questions at the end. I will try, as always, to address the questions that you write if I see them, if I notice. So let's get started. I would like to begin, again, reiterating, tonight's topic is Tom Brady and the Torah. You understand that we're in Miami, Florida, and we're going to be talking about Tom Brady and the Torah. And the first thing to understand, because we are, after all, on the truth tree, we like being very honest with each other here. We say what we're thinking. Most of my friends do not like Tom Brady. He is not a fan favorite down here in the MIA. He's not. And not only do my friends mostly not like Tom Brady, but frankly, my wife is not the biggest fan in the world. She thinks that he's sort of become like an avodah zarah, like an idolatrous act for me. So she's not the biggest fan of his either. And thirdly, he lost the game. You all know he lost the game. So the question is, why am I talking about Tom Brady? And the answer, of course, is that because I'm obviously too popular and I'm looking to cut down on my friend base. And also because if you stick around to the end, I think that it will become apparent and evident what it is that I think is important to discuss about this man. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started now. Okay. This week's Parsha that we are about to read on Shabbat in Shul is called Parshat Mishpatim, which means the portion of laws. Mishpatim are laws. We've discussed them in the past, the difference between this type of law and a different type of law. We'll leave that alone for now. And this is coming on the heels of last week. Last week's portion, we had the Ten Commandments, the Decalogue, the very, very famous, everybody knows about the Ten Commandments. Last week was the Ten Commandments, and this week is more commandments. Okay. Now, you may have heard this, and in fact, not only may you have heard this, you may have felt this in the past, and I would suggest to you that if you haven't felt this way in the past, then you're not being very honest with yourself, or you're just not really thinking about things, but I hear this often, and again, I have myself felt this many times. Why the holy hell are there so many laws? Good to see you. Why? Why so many rules all the time, right? It's like, this is the old adage, right? Ours is the God of love, and yours is the God of law. And that is clearly true. That is clearly true. Ours is, in fact, the God of law. But the truth is, it's not merely the fact that there are so many laws. I'm fine with the Ten Commandments. Okay, I'm good with the Ten Commandments. Don't murder, don't steal, don't commit adultery, don't bear false witness, honor your parents. These are things that we can kind of wrap our head around. These are things we can make our peace with. And in general, I think if you're going to have a healthy society, these are things that we can all agree are good ideas. They're good ideas. But But it's the inane ones, man. It's the inane ones. It's the bizarro nature of the categories of some of our laws, okay? Like, and tell me in your mind if you have heard or thought of this question. God cares what I eat? You're telling me that invisible God, creator, prime cause, cares what I eat. This is important to him. What I stick in my mouth for fuel. He cares about this. Now, if you told me that God's law was that I should eat healthy, then fine. I think that would be pretty intuitive. As we all know, like, never seen a skinny rabbi, right? So that's probably not what kosher is related to. And if you would tell me that, well, maybe it's ethical, right? God wants me to eat in an ethical fashion. That's cool, and there are many open Orthodox rabbis who would like to push that agenda, but that's not the law, right? I mean, again, it's a nice, noble thing. If you want to do it, I'm all for it. Hey, high five, l'chaim, put a mezuzah on your door, and good luck to you. But that's not what kosher is. You're telling me that God looks at me and he says, you can eat a giraffe, but not a moose. Really? A giraffe, but not a moose? Why? Just why? It's weird, it's bizarre. And then it's like, you can eat, yeah, we'll get there, you'll bite, I love it. That's what I figured. I figured I'd reel you in that way. And then you can eat this kind of grasshopper, but not that kind of grasshopper. No, seriously, I promise, that's the truth. There are grasshoppers that are kosher, and there are grasshoppers that are not kosher. And that's weird. You don't like to think that the invisible man in the sky says, this little bug, yes, that's a bing, 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 that's very good, and that one is no. That's odd. It's pretty crazy. It sounds pretty crazy. And then there's, it's not just the bizarre categories of laws. That's the beginning. That's a tiny drop in the bucket of what bothers people about Jewish law. Because worse than the inanities of the categories of law themselves, there are the hair-splitting legalese of crazy minutia that don't seem to make up just the tiniest difference at all in people's lives. I mean, just again, so there's an argument about like what matzah is, right? If you ask the Sephardic Jews what matzah is, they're going to show you something that's very delicious and fluffy and looks like a pita. And if you ask the Ashkenazic Jews what matzah looks like, they're going to tell you it's some kind of like burnt Jesus cracker, and it's really not all that tasty at all. But now that we're finished arguing about like what matzah is, can we at least all agree how much matzah you need to eat? No, we may not. Because although we all may agree that you have to consume the volume of an olive, rest assured there are many, many different people arguing over how large an olive is, and each one would say about the other one, if you didn't eat my shiur, if you did not eat my volume of olive, the mitzvah, and you will burn in hell forever. That part's editorial. But yeah, it's just weird that we're going to argue over this. And that's just one argument, right? I mean, you can literally go on forever with a Nazirite who he inadvertently walked into a cemetery, whoops, and now he has to shave his whole body. And that would be weird enough, but there's an argument in the Talmud as to whether or not he has to shave his nose hair. That's a thing. I did not make this up. That's a thing. Tefillin, right? Those awesome funky boxes that we put on our head and our arms and we wrap them and it's really, really nice. So famously, there's an argument between Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, who was actually a descendant of Rashi and Rashi's family. Rashi says that this is what your tefillin are supposed to be, and Rabbeinu Tam says, no, this is what your tefillin are supposed to be. And there are certain people, mostly Hasidim, who actually wear both pairs of tefillin, not simultaneously. They will first wrap their Rashi tefillin, afterwards they will unwrap their Rashi tefillin and wrap their Rabbeinu Tam tefillin. Are you aware of what they're arguing about? It looks exactly the same from the outside. They're big, beautiful leather boxes. Aha, but there are scrolls inside the boxes. Do you know what they're arguing about? That's right. No, that's wrong. Not what scrolls go in the boxes. They agree what scrolls go in the boxes, but they argue as to what order the scrolls go in the boxes. So Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam are having an argument about what order the non-visible scrolls go. You can understand why some Jews don't like this, yes? Again, you're a religious guy, and good for you, and you wear your tefillin, and you wear your Rabbeinu Tam tefillin, and you have mezuzah on the door, and you don't eat moose, and high five to you. But you understand that it's crazy, yes? It doesn't make sense to you. You can accept the fact that it requires thought and understanding. Like, is there a message here that we're supposed to get, or is it just rabbis who have nothing better to do than sit in their ivory tower and argue about what order your non-visible scrolls should go in your black leather boxes that you wrap on your arm, which, by the way, is weird enough? We're on the same page, are we not? Good. Excellent. That's what I thought so. I can really go on forever with weird laws, but basically there are two issues here. Number one is the inanities of the laws themselves don't always seem to be things that should be on God's radar screen. Not like, don't murder. Again, I understand that would be on the radar screen, but the whole box thing, I don't really get, and the whole caterpillar thing or grasshopper thing, it's just weird. So there's the strange nature of the laws themselves, and then there's the argument, the tiny, hair-splitting, bizarre, minutia arguments that will carry on for pages and pages and pages in the Talmud over things that just don't seem to be very relevant or all make that much of a difference, frankly, in our lives. That's really weird. Okay, those are the two things that I want to deal with first. The second thing that I want to deal with, at the very, very end, I'm pretty sure they don't have split hooves. I'm pretty sure they don't have split hooves. They got the whole horse hoof thing going on. But, what do I know? Maybe they don't have cheetah cut. I don't know. I don't think moose is kosher. I'm pretty sure it's not. But if it is, we'll go with camel, okay? That one I know isn't. So, in this week's portion, the Jews famously say those magic words that make God excited and frankly giddy, okay? God is so happy. He is so, and let me know what you find, okay? He is so happy when the Jews get up and say, God comes, he offers them the Torah, and they say the two magic words. They say, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will hear. Right? We will do, we will hear. And God is freaking out. And the Midrash says, do you know how excited God was? When he heard the Jews say this, he says, Migila razel banai, who revealed this secret to my children? I mean, what an unbelievable thing that they were able to figure out these magic words, and Na'aseh v'nishma, that we will do and we will hear. Now, what does it mean that they're magic words? Because, and we've mentioned this before, excuse me, we've mentioned this before in other classes, that God ostensibly, supposedly went to all the nations of the world and offered them the Torah, and they said, oh, what's in it? And to the Jews, he comes to the Jews and he says, would you like the Torah? And they said, is it free? And he said, yes. And they said, we'll take it. Na'aseh v'nishma, we'll do and we'll hear. And that's very, impressive, because they trusted God to take the Torah without first hearing the contents of the Torah. Now, if you've ever done a business deal with a Jew, you know that he wouldn't act this way with you, but that's okay because you're not God. Now, what I would like to ask is what I think is an incredibly simple question. It's simple and it's simplistic. What's the big deal? It doesn't seem very impressive to me. It just doesn't seem like a very impressive thing. Considering the fact that the Jews of whom we speak, the Jews who actually said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do and we will hear in the desert, those were the Jews who, a month ago, they saw, the sea split, and they saw the plague thing. So they saw God do the plague thing, and they saw God do the sea thing, and they saw God do the manna thing. So yeah, when he shows up and he's like, hey, you want a Torah? Sure, we'll take it. High five. But, that's very odd. That's very odd. Again, listen carefully. Listen carefully to the point that I'm making. Let's assume that the story is true, literally, the way that it is written. Because right now we don't need to get into, if they're metaphors and what they mean. Let's just take the story at face value and try to see if we can wrap our heads around the concept. So God goes to the nations and say, hey, you want the Torah. Now, presumably they know they're speaking to God at the time. We have to assume that, right? That's a given. It's given that the people who are on the other end of this conversation, whether they are the Esavites or the Ishmaelites or the Moabites or whoever else God may have at the time, 3,300 years ago, offered the Torah to, they knew that he was God, right? So God comes to you and God is like, hey, do you want my Torah? Do you trust me? And they're like, no, I don't trust you. Why wouldn't they trust him? Why not? Well, it's not that funny. Why wouldn't they trust him? That's strange, right? You would have to think Aladdin, right? You've all seen Aladdin. Obviously, you've seen Aladdin. Who hasn't seen Aladdin? He's the genie times a trillion, right? God is the genie times a trillion. If the genie says, hey, I got something really good for you, rub over here and everything's going to be great, you're going to do that. You're going to do that. So God comes to these nations and says, hey, you want the Torah? And they're like, I don't know. That's weird. That's just awfully strange. Really weird. And again, we've touched upon this issue in the past. I want to deal with, it's multifaceted. Obviously, it's multifaceted, and it's a lot deeper than we're going to get into today, but I want to deal with like the more obvious surface issues at the very least. Okay, so to recap our 2 questions. Number 1, what's the big deal? Why is God so impressed when the Jews say, Na'aseh v'nishma, we'll do and we'll listen? He just split the sea for them and gave them manna to them and rain, and did all these really cool things. And he's like, hey, do you want this? I want you to take it. Yeah. It doesn't seem like that big a deal. And God, again, God is very impressed. If not for the fact that the rabbis told us and taught us that God was freaking out over how amazing this is, fine. They said we'd hear, and we'd be like, okay, we would move on. But God was very impressed. And the question is, doesn't sound so impressive. And number 2, why the heck didn't the other people also trust God? And don't say because they didn't think it was God, because that's silly, right? Obviously, it's only an issue if they did think at the time that they were talking to God, and still they rejected him. And the question is, why would you reject God? It doesn't seem like a logical thing to do. It seems like a very, very strange thing to do. So with those questions, put them in the back of your head, keep them on the shelf, and let's talk about Tom Brady. I can just see screens everywhere changing the channel. Let's talk about Tom Brady. Let's begin with something that everybody can agree with. Brady has experienced a level of utter domination for nearly 2 decades in the National Football League. It's unprecedented. It's unprecedented. For many reasons, like free agency and hard salary caps and parity in the draft. And there's no question, if you're a sports fan of any sort, whether it's MLS, MLB, NHL, if you watch sports, you know that the NFL has more parity than any other league in the world. It's just a fact, they do. And yet Brady has experienced domination on an unprecedented level. Crazy level of domination. And it's difficult to comprehend because unlike, the Celtics or the Bulls or the Lakers or the 49ers or the Cowboys in their times, in their sports, they didn't do it through talent. See, it's very different. If you have Magic and Kareem, if you have Kobe and Shaq, if you have Jordan and Pippen, that's a different issue. Even the Warriors, right? When you look at certain teams that create dynasties and can dominate for a while, generally they all have one thing in common: overwhelming talent. And the Patriots don't. Not only do they not, they never did other than 2007. They just don't. Right? So it's like weird. It's very strange. How are they able to do this? Second of all, as much as I do love Brady, and everybody who knows me knows that I love Brady, and we'll get to that very, very soon, but you have to admit to yourself and to me, and I admit to myself in the mirror every day when I sit there and I say, you go girl, I say, he is not Aaron Rodgers. He's just not. Brady's not Aaron Rodgers. He's slow, doesn't have a particularly strong arm. I mean, he's fairly accurate, but, he's not that talented. He's just not. That's why he went so low in the draft. And it's like, the Patriots were geniuses. No, they weren't. They took him in the 6th round. If the Patriots were geniuses, they wouldn't have left him on the board. Give me a break. They had no idea what they were getting. They tripped over him. The only guy in the room, the only guy on the Patriots' entire organization that knew that they made a great decision on Brady was Brady. He was the only guy that thought it was a great idea. So it's just it's weird. So what is it? Like, how does he do that? And again, Belichick, you have to give obviously a lot of credit to Belichick. How does this happen? So what people I think will tell you, and I've heard a lot of my friends, people who are near and dear to me will tell you, they say, well, he works very, very hard. And he's very, very intense, and he hates losing, and all 3 of those things are true. He does work very hard, and he is very intense, and he does hate losing, and guess what? So did Michael Irvin. So did... The topic of the class is Tom Brady and the Torah, and don't worry, I'm going to tie it all together for you. I'm confusing people. I'm confusing people. I have that effect. It's not that he doesn't work hard, but he's not the only guy that works very, very hard, and he's not the only guy who's very, very intense. And I assure you that Drew Brees works very, very hard, and not less hard. And I assure you also that Michael Irvin's workouts were legendary, and Jerry Rice's workouts were even more legendary. So that's not what it is. It's not that. It's not that he works harder than everybody else. That's not why he dominates. I'm going to give you my theory about why and how Tom Brady dominates. Simple. Two things, really wrapped up in each one and the other. Planning and precision. Planning and precision. And these are two things that, as a human being, what I have seen so far in the league, and I follow the league very, very closely, it's two things that I've only seen with him. Only. There are people who work very, very hard, and there are people that do things well, incredibly well. But no one does this like he does. He knows exactly what he is doing all the time, and I don't mean on the field, I mean off the field. And I don't mean during the season, I mean in the off season. Why? Because every single thing in the world for Tom Brady is about one thing, and that is the next ring. That's it. That's the only thing for Tom Brady. He doesn't have another thing. Every bite he takes of food is about the next ring. And every time his head hits the pillow to go to sleep at night, it's about the next ring. And every time he goes to the movies with his kids, it's about the next ring. And every time he buys a shirt, it's about the next ring. And every single thing he does all the time, regardless of when, regardless of how, is about the next ring. Everything. That's the difference. He's not only working out when he's in the gym. He's not only preparing when he's watching film. Every moment of his life he's preparing. Every moment in his life is significant, and it goes to one purpose, nothing more, nothing less. I don't like him because he's good. I enjoy watching good football. I love watching Aaron Rodgers. I love watching Russell Wilson. I love watching Rob Gronkowski. I love watching Le'Veon. I love watching AB. There are plenty of amazing people, gifted human beings that play this sport and do really, really cool things if you're into that sort of thing. And I am. It's my outlet. I love it. It is what it is. But that's not what Brady's about. I admire Brady's approach to life. That's what it is. I admire his approach. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, and I know that I'm going to lose a lot of friends for this, but I don't care because it's the truth, and I'm going to share it with you. I admire his approach to life. One goal, every moment matters. Every moment of your life is significant. And every moment of your life should be focused. And that's what I love about Tom Brady. And that's what I admire about Tom Brady. Now, please don't think for a second that I think the world is about football, because I don't think the world is about football, and we're going to differentiate, okay? I admire his approach, not his goals and not his purpose. His approach. His approach. Listen carefully. Let's return to the Torah. Let's return for a moment to the Torah. Na'aseh v'nishma. We will do and we will hear. This is, I think, one of the most fundamentally misunderstood ideas in Judaism. And believe me, there are so many fundamentally misunderstood ideas in Judaism. There are ideas that are perverted by people. There are ideas that are forgotten and just ignored by people. And this one is just misunderstood. Everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. No one has any idea what it means. If I'm right, I could be wrong. But I'll tell you what I think it means. What do people think it means? Well, because they were all about trust. I mean, this is the stuff that I was listening to when I was in yeshiva. I was in high school, and I went to a great high school. I really did. And I had wonderful rabbeim, and I love them very much, and they're great, and they're wonderful, and yada, 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 and. But here's the deal. They would get up, they would say, the Jews trusted God. Wow, they trusted God. Who wouldn't trust God if you thought you were talking to God? What's the big deal? Oh my goodness gracious, it doesn't matter. It's not impressive. It's not impressive. Come on, man. You can't see that? You can't see that it's not impressive? It's not about trust. It was never about trust. That's not what it means. I'm going to tell you what it means. I'm going to tell you. Okay. We will do and we will hear. So, I was talking to my class today, in the 12th grade, and I was asking them questions. And they were trying to answer the questions. And I said to them, stop trying to answer the question. Why? Because people the world over, since the beginning of time, have tried to answer questions. The problem is, if you're trying to answer a question with knowledge that you already have, then that means whatever the answer can be is limited to the information that you already have. And what's the likelihood of that? In your little box, or like I like to call it, your little toilet bowl of knowledge, in your little pathetic meat brain of an existence, you are going to answer every single question that is posed to you, that is put in front of you, with information that you already possess, because you can't possibly draw from information that you don't possess yet to answer the question. It's like the old adage, right? When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. It's the same idea. Same idea. When you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You're going to answer the question with information you already have. You can't! You can't. It's idiocy. It's folly. So stop trying to answer questions at all, because you're really not looking for an answer to the question. You're looking to understand the question so well that you realize that there is no question. That's what you're really supposed to do. So instead of trying to answer questions with your information, just follow the question. Feel the question, follow the question, surf the question. It will answer itself most of the time. Why am I telling you this? Because God says to the Jews, do you want the Torah? And they say, we will do. And after we do, we'll understand. Not before. Of course not before. How could you possibly understand it before? You don't have sufficient information. You have to first do it. And after you do it and you live that way, then the purpose will open itself and become evident to you, but not before. What was so impressive about what the Jews said to God when he offered them the Torah was not the fact that they took it, but the fact that they recognized the reality of the world. The world. Now, let's discuss what that means. I even brought my notes. This is very exciting to me. So I had this conversation with Yael the other day. It's like, it hit me. I mean, out of nowhere, it's just so funny, right? So can you imagine, why are you here? Why are you here? You're a human being. Why are you here? What do you mean, why am I here? I'm here. No one thinks about why I'm here. I'm here. Let me get a pizza. I'm here. Yay, it's me, and I'm here. Who cares? Why are you here? I mean, seriously, why are you here? Do you understand that not only is that question annoying and irksome, but you can't even ask that question, right? If you ask someone that question, their response is, what the heck are you talking about? Why am I here? Go back to your job. Go get back in the car. Turn the TV back on. Get back in the game. Go raise your kids. What do you mean, why am I here? That's a stupid question, why am I here? I'm here, now go do what you need to do. Do you understand how dangerous that is? Do you understand how rotten that is to the core? That the audacity to ask why you're here is a bad question? It's a bad question. How toxic is that? It's unbelievable. And you know where you find this? This is so cool. I think you find this in the Torah and the Chumash, because Moshe, Moshe and Aaron, they come to Paro and they say, do me a favor. God says, let the Jews go and worship me for 3 days in the desert. And what does Paro say? You're lazy! Get back to work! That's why you're saying I want to go worship God, because you're lazy. But that's not Paro talking. That's not Paro talking. That's your friend talking. That's your friend talking when you look him in the eyes and you say, so Jake, why are we here? What do you mean, why are we here? Pass the chips. We're here because we're here. We're just here. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Could there be a more fundamental question? Tell me something. Do you think that perhaps there's some connection between why you're here and finding out why you're here? I mean, could that be? Right? You're living in the Truman Show. Goodness gracious, don't you see? You're living in the flippin' Truman Show. It's unbelievable. And the worst part of it is that you've seen the Truman Show and you've seen the Matrix and you still think it's a stupid question. Pass the chips. I love this. I love this because it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. If you want to know the Torah's word for this, I don't want to go into this too deeply, but it's ayeka. It's where are you? Okay, when God comes to Adam in the garden and he goes, Adam, where are you? Where are you? Right? What do you think he's asking? What do you think he's asking Adam? He says, Adam, where are you? Where do you think you are right now? What do you think this is? That's the question. Now, when you ask people, what are you doing here? It bothers them because they don't have an answer to the question. Of course they don't have an answer to the question. You think it might take a little bit of effort and billions of years to figure out the answer to the question? I don't know. No one knows the answer to the question. I mean, religious people, they like to say platitudes like, we're here to serve God. No, you're not. You're not here to serve God. God didn't create you to serve him. He doesn't need little toadies to bow down to him and say, oh God, you're so great, I love you. You're not here to serve God. That might be part of what you need to do in order to figure out why you're here, but that's God did not create you to serve him. That's ridiculous. That's not why, right? So why are you here is a very, very good question. And oh wow, would you look at that? We have a book. It's called the Torah. What does Torah mean? It means a guide. I wonder what it's a guide to. It's like, my parents, they just bought my kids this beautiful, very nice, thank you by the way if you're watching, this beautiful ping pong table, right? And it had instructions. So can you imagine there's like a book that comes with the table, and then you imagine the kids picking up the book and being like, I wonder why there's a book in here. It's like idiot. So then you can build the freaking thing. What do you mean why there's a book in there? So God gave you a book, and the book is literally called a guide. It's literally called a guide, right? Moreh, Horeh, Torah. It means a guide. It's a guidebook. What is it guiding me to? Oh, maybe it's a guide to the Truman Show. Imagine that. Yes, well, if that's the case, if it's a guide to the Truman Show, then when the Jews said, Na'aseh v'nishma, we will do, and then we will understand, what the Jews were displaying was an unbelievable and unprecedented understanding of the world. They said, yeah, we get it. We know we're living in the Matrix. We know we're in the show. We'll do it, and then we'll understand it. We don't have a possibility of understanding it before we do it. We live in our tiny little myopic socioeconomic realities. We're stuck and mired in the politics of the time, and the ethics of the time, and the morality of the time. It shifts all the time, right? It shifts constantly and consistently. You understand that 50 years ago what was considered good or bad, and 50 years from now what's considered good or bad, they don't even vaguely resemble each other. So they said, we'll do, and then we'll listen. The problem, it's not that the other nations didn't trust God. If God would have come to other nations and said, hey, I have a Torah and I would really like you to take it, without asking me any questions, will you take it? The answer would have been, of course, emphatically, yes. In fact, they do have their own books now, right? Other people have their own books, ostensibly from God. So it's not like people wouldn't trust God. Of course, everyone would trust God, but he didn't come and ask them to trust him. It wasn't a function of trust. It was a function of, do you understand what it is that's happening here? Do you understand that you're living on a monopoly board? Do you understand that everything around you isn't real? It's only real to you. This world is nothing more and nothing less than the ability to make decisions. That's all it is. And the Jews at Mount Sinai said, we will do. And then after we do, we'll understand. Aha. So if the Torah is the guidebook to the universe, literally, to the universe, then what's important? Everything is important. You think, well, God doesn't care if I eat a moose. Yeah, he does. Of course he does. You don't think every single part of the board is significant? You know why you think that? Because you think that only the things that you think are significant could possibly be significant. Yes? Understand? See, we have that little box, the little toilet bowl of our knowledge. And if the little toilet bowl of our knowledge does not include why it would be significant to not eat a moose, you'll think it's perfectly fine to eat a moose. Oh, moose is kosher, my bad. My bad. We'll go with camels. Camels. Why are camels bad? Camels shouldn't be bad. I'll have some camel. Oh, it's significant. You know what else is significant? The order of the scrolls in your box. And how much matzah you eat. Which moment matters to you? I'll tell you what I learned from Brady. Every moment, if you've got a goal. If you are going somewhere, you think that, now is just, a time to just waste. I'm just going to throw it away. Every decision you ever make, every relationship you ever have, everything you ever do is significant. and should be focused and utilized. Every single one. And by the way, this is why Judaism has laws for how to go to the bathroom, and for how to have sex, and for how to literally wipe yourself, and for how to tie your shoes, and for how to eat your food, and for how much to eat and when not to eat, and how much and why, and how do I cook it. Unbelievable. The micro and the macro. Everything matters. Everything matters. That's what I learned from Brady. That's why I admire Brady. I admire Brady because nothing is wasted. Because there's no moment of life that shouldn't be towards a goal. Now, it happens to be my goal isn't to sit there and play football. I don't find that significant. For me, the Torah is significant. For me, it's about what am I doing here? For me, everyone can pick their own what. But once you pick your what, every moment is significant, and every action is significant, and every thought is significant. And that means if you sit there in your chair and you think to yourself, what's the big deal? It doesn't really make a difference if I sit there and stick my face in a barrel of ice cream for 30 days and don't do anything. If you think that, it's because you don't have any goals. Your life doesn't matter. You say, well, why am I here? There's no reason why I'm here. And if it doesn't matter that I'm here, if there's no reason that I'm here, then who cares if I sit there and stick my face in the ice cream? By the way, I have nothing against ice cream. Ice cream's wonderful. But the point is, every moment of your life is significant. And this is not to say, for those of you who were watching the podcast before, this is not to say that means that you shouldn't have nice things, you shouldn't go to the mall, you shouldn't watch football, you shouldn't watch a movie, read a book, go to the beach, enjoy yourself, sip a pina colada. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. Because again, to go back to the man, you can take vacation, right? But what's your vacation for? Are you recharging? Does it bring you a step closer to your goal or a step further away? What is your vacation for? If your vacation is to recharge, then your vacation is not a vacation, it's work. It moves you closer to your goal. If wearing nice, comfortable, beautiful shoes makes you feel good about yourself and helps keep you on the way towards your goal, why not go buy yourself a pair of Ferragamo? Good for you. Why not? You want a nice, fast car that's going to be comfortable to take you to the Beit Midrash, to take you where you got to go, do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Everything in the world is there for you to use. Just focus it. Focus it. Take a step with everything you do. And never let the time just pass. I think that there are, again, it's an opinion, but I think, unfortunately, that there are two major challenges, problems, things that make me sad when I look around and I talk to people that I love and that are dear to me, my friends, and I realize that, many people, they don't have a Rebbe. Many people, they don't have, you ask them, who do you look up to? Who's your idol? And they say, well, I don't know, no one really. I have my friends. I don't really idolize anybody. Really? You don't know anyone or know of anyone who you want to emulate? Who you learn from? How sad. How horribly sad is that? Who do you surround yourself with? People that you don't look up to? People that you don't admire? People that you can't learn from? Why? Because there's no why to why I'm here. I'm just here. So it doesn't matter who I hang around with. I hang around with whoever I'm having fun with. Why should I waste my time talking to somebody who could bring me someplace? I'm not going anywhere. The second problem is people don't have goals. The goals that they have are artificial goals. I want to attain this job and that suit and that car and that girl. That's not a goal. Maybe it's milestones. It's not goals. It's not a goal. Goal is why you're here. Ultimate goal. Capital G. What are you doing here? Figure out why you're here. Step one. Step two. Find a Rebbe. Find a mentor. Find a sensei. I don't care what you call it. It's all the same thing. Find a guru. It doesn't matter. Find someone who can help you. I guarantee you, everyone in your life who you look up to, who you think is great at something, they have someone that mentors them. They do. All the greats have that in common. Find the why, find the who, and then make every moment of your life significant. And tell me something. Because, oftentimes people look at religious people and they say, well, they're not having a lot of fun. Like, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm going to Ultra, and I'm doing these substances, and I'm doing all these actions, and like, life is amazing. Like, those people, they have no fun. Tell me. Do you think it's possible, theoretically possible, to have more fun than someone who is taking every moment of his or her life, and using it towards an ultimate goal of why they're here? You think you're having more fun than that guy? You think you're having more fun than the guy who sees God and goals in a cup of coffee or a banana? You think you're having more fun than him? You have to go to Ultra to get fun. Why? Why? Why do you spend all of your days, all of your working hours, most of your life working so that you could take a week off and go to vacation to Bora Bora? How pathetic is life, if that's what life is. On the other hand, if there's a why, and if there's a goal, and if there's a na'aseh v'nishma, there's a we'll do it and then we'll understand it, then all of a sudden the most mundane actions in your entire life, even and including clipping your toenails and going to the bathroom, all of a sudden they're enveloped with meaning, and they matter, and they're glorious. And let me tell you, from that angle, life is good. Peace and love.